Hi, this is Denise, your Area 50, Western New York, Panel 72 delegate to the General Service Conference. In this segment, I'll be discussing the committee recommendations and committee considerations from the policy and admissions. First, the committee requested that a report be presented to it at the next General Service Conference in 2023 about looking at the financial, logistical, and spiritual implications of holding the General Service Conference at locations throughout the 8 regions. So that's the 6 regions of the United States and the 2 regions of Canada in our General Service structure. Currently, the General Service Conference is held in New York City and Manhattan, or either in a very close location like Rye, New York, or Brooklyn, as was the case in 2022 and will be the case in 2023. Secondly, the committee selected as its first choice the dates April 26th through May 2nd for the General Service Conference in 2026, and that's the 76th General Service Conference. And you may be wondering why I am reporting this to you, other than the fact that this was a committee consideration. I do have 2 little smiley faces right after that, and that is because it is likely that 2 of you will care about those dates. That might be the person who's serving as the Panel 76 delegate and the person who is serving as our Panel 76 alternate delegate at that time. The committee continued discussion of virtual meeting technologies for polling the General Service Conference between meetings. And the last committee consideration on this page is that the committee reviewed a progress report of the ad hoc committee that's looking at the participation of online groups in the U.S. and Canada service structure, and requested a report to come back for the committee next year. And just as a reminder, that ad hoc committee was born out of the 71st General Service Conference last year, in that the online groups were allowed to participate in the general service structure in either a district or area of their choice, or if they did not choose one, it would be in the district or area of the location of the person who is the contact for that group. So the committee made a recommendation that the Policy Admissions Committee could approve routine observation requests to the General Service Conference without the need to poll the full conference. So this year we had, I believe, 2 observers, and there was a poll sent around to the delegates prior to the conference, and we were given 2 weeks to vote on that. So this is empowering the Policy and Admissions Committee to go ahead and approve those routine observation requests. My vote was yes for this. The vote was 119 yes, 6 no. This was substantial unanimity. This particular recommendation passed and becomes an advisory action. Secondly, the committee recommended that the paragraph in the story in the back of Alcoholics Anonymous, freedom from bondage, which this particular paragraph was removed from the story due to pagination issues in the 4th edition of the book Alcoholics Anonymous. So the recommendation was to restore that to future printings and all publications in which the story is included. My vote on this was no. There was 35 yes votes, 93 no votes. This did not pass, and this was one of only, I believe, 3 committee recommendations that was brought before the whole conference that was not approved by the entire floor. And my vote no was based on the fact that this says future printings and publications in which the story is included, which means that if the 4th edition were printed next month, because we needed more and we were out of these while we wait for the several year process of the 5th edition being put together, that this story would need to be included, which means that we would have to change around the printings. And I also believe that it was a kind of a premature request, as we are working on a 5th edition of the big book, and that there will likely be changes in what stories are going to be in there. We don't know if this story is going to be included in that, and we don't know what other editorial changes will need to be made to make things fit within the printing. The committee reviewed a report on equitable distribution of workload, which is the process by which 15 items this year were redistributed, primarily from the Literature Committee, to various other committees prior to the conference for the review, work, and disposition from those different committees. As a result of reviewing that report, this committee made a recommendation that the conference material going forward from here be made available annually on or before February 15th in English, Spanish, and French. And as a reminder, there was a 2017 advisory action which came from a floor action that, in the spirit of unity and inclusiveness, the General Service Office strive to provide conference background materials in English by February 15th and in Spanish and French by the first week in March, beginning with the 68th General Service Conference. So this recommendation was brought before the conference floor, and a couple different things happened. First, we voted on an amendment. So instead of saying that we were holding it to February 15th for all three languages, it was proposed that that be changed to simultaneously. And in practice, this past year, we did get the background material in English on February 15th, and the Spanish and French versions came later. I believe that all of the committee background for both French and Spanish was distributed sometime around by the second weekend in March, somewhere around there. So certainly our French and Spanish speaking members in our General Service Conference don't have anywhere near as much time as our English speaking members for preparing for the conference based on that background. So that's why this was brought up. So my vote on the amendment was a no. The next thing we did was to reconsider, and my vote was a yes. And then we had a vote on recommitting this, and I voted yes to this because I thought that it would be good to send this back to the trustees committee on this. The recommitting was not passed, and so we ended up going back to an amended motion with simultaneous in it. My vote on this was no, and the reason why I voted no on this, and I do not at all ever want to go against unity. I do subscribe to the fact that unity is one of our fellowship's most prized assets. I was concerned, and my concern was based on the work that we have in front of our General Service Office. I felt that our General Service Office knows that we need the background. I believe that they do the best they can to get that out to us, and I felt as though moving to simultaneous presentation of that material while making it fair to everybody kind of causes a delay for everybody. So I voted no for this, but this did pass. So this is now an advisory action, and I have a star next to that because there was a proposed floor action that came up around this, and we will be talking about that in that particular segment. The final item from this committee was that they looked at a request to expand the section on service sponsorship in the pamphlet, which is our existing pamphlet, questions and answers on sponsorship, and took no action on this. And I'm just noting that this was equitably distributed from the Literature Committee. And the committee felt that the topic of service sponsorship was covered adequately in the pamphlet as well as in our service manual. And I'm noting that this was on the delegates questionnaire for our area. And while more groups indicated that they did want to see this change, it wasn't quite substantial unanimity, but it does seem that we had slightly more interest in that than the committee. If you have any questions on the 72nd General Service Conference or the work of the Policy Admissions Committee, please feel free to contact me at p72delegate@area50westernnewyork.org. And I wish to thank the Area 50 for the opportunity to serve both Area 50 and AA as a whole.